It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerian newspapers. Joining me via Skype is lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun. Good morning and thank you for joining us on TVC Breakfast.
Good morning, Veronica.
All right, let's quickly look at the paper headlines now, and I begin with the leadership. Trump calls President Muhammadu Buhari promises U.S. support to combat COVID-19. America to assist Nigeria with ventilators. NCDC to test 2 million Nigerians in 3 months. Danger not over yet. SGF wants reps summon Health Minister over Kano as Ganduje hails PMB. And we'll move on to the blueprint now. PDP kicks as Senate gives accelerated approval to Buhari's 850 billion naira loan request. And then we move to the News Direct. 850 billion naira loan approval cut down non-essential expenditures. LCCIDG experts. DMO converts 850 billion naira new external borrowing to domestic as IMF approves $3.4 billion loan for Nigeria. We'll look at that story shortly. And to the front page of the Daily Trust. Now, lockdown enforcement. Security operatives lack protective gears exposed to coronavirus. And then to the front page of the Daily Times. Senate okays 850 billion naira fresh loan request from Buhari. All right, let's get to your divergent reactions have trailed this 850 billion naira loan approval by the Senate yesterday. Quickly talk to us what your reaction is to this.
You see, the loan is tied to handling the emergency that we have in the country now, brought about by the COVID-19. But it is expected that if this loan is eventually released to the federal government, that will focus more on building structure. We have seen now how the health sector has been overwhelmed, talked about our facilities. We just read now about the phone call between our president and Donald Trump, the president of the U.S., promising to send ventilators. So how can we as a nation rise up and invest in our capacity so that probably in the future we'll be the ones sending ventilators to other countries of the world? We have the facility to contain, to test. You see, I did not want to be bothered by the number of persons we are planning to test, about 2 million in 3 months. And we are talking of a population of 200 million. So I hope that our approach to handling loan will not be business as usual or business unusual, to build capacity and come out as a stronger nation.
Perhaps that is why the Lagos Chamber of Commerce is saying that the government should cut down non-essential expenditures and perhaps instead of borrowing. What do you make of this? Do we really need this borrowing at this time?
Absolutely. But I can let you know that my country may be broke. If you look at the way we have spent our money, I've been one of those complaining bitterly about the fact that we have been spending our resources on our weakness. Talk about the insurgency. You'll be amazed at how much that insurgency has taken from our national resources. Talk about full subsidy, which is even cloudy. I keep mentioning the fact that we spent 11 trillion naira on under recovery, another name given to subsidy, while our refineries should be working. So right now, even if we decide not to borrow, where is the money coming from? How much is available to even share among states now? So this COVID-19 has come to expose the vulnerability of our economy. And that's why we are advising that we learn from it. For example, now, you can see that the governors meet on how to go forward in managing this crisis, and they did not meet physically. They met online, teleconference. And I doubt if that teleconference took about 1 billion naira or so. So we can cut down really. Recently, heads of ECOWAS governments, they met, not physically. If it were to be before COVID-19, you find about 7 governors going with our president, retinue of aides, and that will take a lot from our resources. So it's time to look inwards. And again, countries of the world.
Jide Ologun, are you there? All right, we have been speaking with Barrister Jide Ologun. He is reacting to the 850 billion naira loan approved by the Senate yesterday. The request was made by the president to, touch or to deal with capital projects in the 2020 budget, especially with regards to the impact the COVID-19 has had on the economy with regards to the oil price, and the president is seeking this loan to accelerate capital projects within the country. All right, you're watching TVC. It's time to take a look at stories making the headlines in Nigerians' newspapers. And joining me via Skype is lawyer and social development advocate Jide Ologun. Good morning, and thank you for joining us.
Good morning, Veronica. Thank you, too.
All right, let's head straight to the papers now, and I begin with the Leadership newspaper. Trump calls President Muhammadu Buhari, promises U.S. support to combat COVID-19. America to assist Nigeria with ventilators, NCDC to test 2 million Nigerians in 3 months. And then we move to the blueprints now. PDP kicks as Senate gives accelerated approval to Buhari's 850 billion naira loan request. To the Daily Trust now. Lockdown enforcement. Security operatives lack protective gears exposed to coronavirus. We have no helmets, face masks, goggles. Police give us duty allowance like health workers. They are demanding that as well. No budget for COVID-19, but we are trying. For spokesman, treat them like humans, experts. To the Daily Times now. Senate okays 850 billion naira fresh loan request from Buhari. Seeks new strategy to fight COVID-19, better coordination by government, private sector. PDP expresses concerns over loan requests, demands accountability, approved 850 billion loan request, for not new loans, says DMO. To the News Direct, which is the last paper we are reviewing this morning, 850 billion naira loan request cut down non-essential expenditures, LCCI DG experts. DMO converts 850 billion naira new external borrowing to domestic as IMF approves $3.4 billion loan for Nigeria. All right, let's turn our attention to the front page of the Leadership newspaper. Yesterday, Information Minister Lai Mohammed spoke about the President Trump, that's the U.S. President, calling President Muhammadu Buhari, promising to support the fight against COVID-19 in the country. Several reactions on social media with regards to this, perhaps with regards to the number of cases that the U.S. is witnessing, about 1 million infected in the U.S. Talk to us, Barrister Ologun, what you make of President Trump seeking to help Nigeria combat COVID-19 despite the numbers rising in the U.S.
You know, I must commend the efforts of the federal government and the state government in Nigeria in combating this COVID-19 crisis. If you compare our narrative with that of some other countries of the world that are even more advanced, you will agree with me that God has been quite gracious to us. But then, we are just learning now that the U.S. is still willing to support us by donating ventilators, and of course the IMF is willing to release some loans to us. I think we also should look inwards and ask the question, what next after COVID-19 for this great nation Nigeria? Because, for example, let's isolate this case of America trying to help Nigeria. I've been monitoring the global trend, and I've not seen America running to other countries for financial support. So we need to grow our economy, because One issue that is critical that has been exposed so much is the poverty level in the country. And that should take us back to how we deploy our resources. Can we begin to build the institutions? As we speak now, the testing centers, even though we are trying our best, can hardly cope with the number of persons that should be tested. We are talking about vaccines. In Madagascar, the country already came up with COVID organic to handle the virus, and that is a local invention. And even though if the World Health Organization is not happy about that, I mean, they are developing local solutions to their problems, and that is the pragmatic leadership we should be embarking upon. And again, we must look at other areas. For example, if not for the fact that countries need to keep to themselves now, we will not be looking for where to import face masks into this country. Now we have discovered that our own local fabric can help us to design face masks, and that is even going to provide jobs for those who are in that industry. So we need to look at how we deploy our resources at a time like this so that going forward, we also can join the League of Nations that are probably self-sufficient. Self-sufficiency is a measurement of poverty when you can stand on your own. But as it is now, financially and in many areas, Nigeria still needs support from the outside countries to stand. But we can get out of that by deliberate decision of being prudent and maximizing our resources.
Speaking about homegrown solutions, we recall that recently the Oni of Ife talked about perhaps also looking inwards to tap into alternative herbal remedies to COVID-19. But then again, we see countries like Senegal also coming up with solutions, creating ventilators, especially tapping from their experience of fighting Ebola. Nigeria also fought Ebola to a standstill and was commended at the point. Aren't there lessons that we can pick from there that we can imbibe seeing what Senegal is doing?
Absolutely. And with due respect to globalization, I stand to say that the solutions to Nigerian problems are in Nigeria here. I've asked this question. Was Governor Makinde flown out of the country? He tested positive to coronavirus and he's been cured. I mean, was the governor of Kaduna State taken out of this country? Except we did not know. And many patients have been discharged in Lagos State, across the country. And that tells us about the fact that we can grow local solutions to our problems. But let me tell you, in public relations, you talk about enculturation. Other nations trying to push their culture on you. And Africa is a victim of this. Our culture is fast being eroded. But I did a study on the UAE. Sheikh Zayed was trying to develop the agricultural potentials of the UAE. But the World Organization told him it was not going to be possible. So the man turned to his people and said, this is our land, this is our project, we know what to do with our land, we know what to do with our plans, let's go ahead. And today, the UAE is a success record and template for agriculture economy in the world. So if you keep on looking up to the World Health Organization, looking up to the Food Organization, you may not live where you are. And that is why this is an opportunity for us to develop internal capacity. You can see what Donald Trump is doing in the US now. He's telling the World Health Organization that, no, I'm not going to follow you, hook, sinker, and all the way, that you even misled us. So you see nations looking inwards. I have said it, Nigeria is overblessed, if there's an expression like that. We still have the gold reserve in Zamfara. We have the oil and gas. We are the largest producer of oil in Africa. We have 4 refineries. So let's look inwards now and see how we can maximize the blessings of God. That's the lesson we are learning. It's no longer stylish now to travel abroad for treatment. I'm sure hospitals in India will be growing now and some other parts of the country where our leaders run to. So let's develop the home capacity. Let's all come together. And you can see what happened. The president had to listen to the governors on how to manage this COVID-19 crisis in terms of the socio-economic impact, so that you are sensitive to what obtains. When people are asked to stay at home and the livelihood is at stake, it may, lead us to a very serious crime situation. So we need to come together now as a people, listen to one another, If Nigerians are saying they have solution to COVID-19, why don't you research into it? I understand that the US is partnering Madagascar in developing the solution invented in Madagascar. I can tell you that leaf that was used in Madagascar is in Nigeria here. In Yoruba, they call it Ewegbi. So we are, I mean, the Chinese come here, they take bamboo from Nigeria, fly it outside the country or ship it out. They produce toothpicks and return to Nigeria. We have iron ore in Nigeria. We have the Ajakuta steel rolling mill, the Alaja steel rolling mill, and yet a huge percentage of our foreign earnings go to China in importing steel into this country. If you take China out of our building industry in Nigeria, we may be paralyzed. So going beyond COVID-19, it's a time to develop the capacity of Nigeria. It's not going to be pleasant, but we just have to go on that lane. And it's an opportunity for us again to revisit our aviation sector, whether we like it or not. I think the only industry that appears to be afloat now is the medical industry, because it's a medical crisis we are managing. But you talk about aviation, tourism, entertainment, name it, there are serious crises. And after COVID-19, you expect that with the combination of the struggling oil profile in the market, that we are going to have a serious issue with us.
All right, Barrister Jide Ologun, thank you for speaking with us.